All right, so like Yeshaya, our job was to represent the Most High in righteousness. We were given, so going back to how we were made in that image, right? That image we understand being both male and female, but what this image was to represent was to represent the heavenly realm, right? So we understand the Father, Adam, made in that image. The woman was made in the image of the Holy Spirit, and we understand the child, which would be Christ, right? So that is what we represent. And the same way how the heavenly realm functions is really the same way how we are supposed to function in that complete oneness, in that complete order that the Most High set up from the beginnings, right? As it is in heaven, so shall it be on earth. Um, so before we could come to that full age, so before Adam and Eve can come to that full age in understanding, um, they fell through the temptations and sin by rebelling against the Father. And even as a nation, the same thing. Before we reached our maturity on what the Most High designed us for us to be, sin came on in and pretty much unleavened the whole nation, right? Where a little leaven is, unleavened the whole lump. Let's get 2nd Esdras chapter 3, verse 19.
Right. The book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 3, reading verses 19 down to 27. And it reads, And thy glory went through 4 gates of fire, and of earthquake, and of wind, and of cold, that thou mightest give the law unto the seed of Jacob, and diligence unto the generation of Israel. And yet tookest thou not away from them a wicked heart, that thy law might bring forth fruit in them. For the first Adam bearing a wicked heart transgressed, and was overcome.
All right, so hold on, read verse 20 again.
For the first Adam bearing a wicked heart transgressed.
For verse 20 again.
Oh, Salakia. And yet tookest thou not away from them a wicked heart.
Right, so even though Adam fell, and through Adam fell, all of us would have that malignant root, right? That evil, that capacity to do evil. That came from Adam, eating from the tree of good and evil. So even though that would be in us, the Most High didn't remove it. Read it again.
And yet tookest thou not away from them a wicked heart.
So he didn't remove the wicked heart. Go on.
That the law might bring forth fruit in them.
That the law might bring forth fruit in them. Now this is key, because without anything, you can't be good if there's nothing bad. So therefore, the Most High didn't remove the evil heart from us, so that through the law, we can bring forth good works, right? Because if we were programmed by default just to do good works, then who gets the credit, right? There's really no, you can't get credited for being good at something you were designed by nature to naturally be. But if there's something bad and you have to overcome the bad that's within us and do good, then that deserves a reward. So this is why the Most High didn't remove that malignant seed. Go on.
Right. And yet tookest thou not away from them the wicked heart, that the law might bring forth fruit in them. For the first Adam bearing a wicked heart transgressed, and was overcome, and so be all they that are born of him.
Right? So many, especially all the children of Adam, all of us failed this test, right? Because the whole idea is that the Most High still left good, and that good was supposed to overcome the evil. But just like Adam, we were overcome and we failed. Go on, right? All are subject to sin. Go on.
Thus infirmity was made permanent, and the law also in the heart of the people with the malignity of the root, so that the good departed away and the evil abode still.
So what happens over time? The good will depart, but the evil will increase. And this is why we constantly have to be in our word. This is why the Most High says, you know what, write it on your doorsteps. Write it on, pretty much write it everywhere as a reminder. Put it in your clothing. Wear fringes to remind you of the law. Why? Because we have to understand that because of this malignant root, it's always trying to overcome the righteous that's within us. So if we do not replenish our spirits, replenish our understanding, eventually what happens? And we see this, right? Where we stop our quiet times, we stop making these things priority, and eventually that fire, that zeal we have for the Most High, eventually it quenches out. So this is where we have to be in our book. This is where we have to build strong habits to feed the spirit, right? Because the flesh is always trying to, as I said, take over. Go on.
So the times passed away, and the years were brought to an end. Then didst thou raise thee up a servant called David, whom thou commandest to build a city unto thy name, and to offer incense and oblations unto thee therein. When this was done many years, then they that inhabited the city forsook thee.
Right? So then, as time passed, and the process started to get worse, the malignant root taking down men, nation by nation. I'm going to say children of Israel and the righteous leaders, right? Because we know that Saul was used. He lost that battle with that malignant root, right? But eventually the Most High would find a man of his own heart, and he found David. And David was one, regardless of what was going on, David was the one to take a stand for the Most High. Now, I think about, I'm going to go to when David first started, right? Going back to David and Goliath. How was the faith of all the men of Israel when they saw Goliath? It's weakened. It was only David that said, nah, regardless of the odds that are against us, I'm standing with the Most High. And we have to understand that, whether we're looking at Goliath, as that big, tall giant, or we're just looking at him as an obstacle, we have to understand we're going to face things like this in these last days. So we got to ask ourselves, especially the men, how much of us are going to take a stand as David did? Right? How much of us are willing to fight against and stand against the obstacles that we understand will be present, whether they be giants, because we understand we will see these things again, because as the days of Noah, so shall be the coming of the Son of Man. Right? So how much of us are going to take a stand and stand with the Most High and stand to protect the Most High and his inheritance, his people? Go on.
Verse 26, and in all things did even as Adam and all his generation had done, for they also had a wicked heart. And so thou gavest thy city over into the hands of thine enemies.
Right, so Israel also failed that test. And they had everything they needed to overcome that malignant heart, that evil heart. But they fell. And because they fell, we were given into the hands of spoilers. Go keep on going? All right, so the fall of Adam brought forth sin within our bodies to the point it was like a law in itself. And it became a law in itself, right? It became the law of sin and death. If you sin, you will die, right? So that downfall of Adam, it brought forth a new law. And that new law, as I said, was sin and death. So even though Adam sinned, we have been even more rebellious than Adam ever was. There were many who arose to help our people like David to come back to the ways of the Father, but eventually, much like today, we forsook his ways for sin. Let's get Joshua, and we're going to go chapter 3. We're going to get 1 to 4.
All right. In the book of Joshua, chapter 3, 1 to 4. And Enoch lived 65 years, and he begot Methuselah. And Enoch walked with the Most High God after having begot Methuselah. And he served the Most High and despised the evil ways of men. And the soul of Enoch was wrapped up in the instruction of the Lord, in knowledge and in understanding. And he wisely retired from the sons of men, and secreted himself from them for many days.
Right, so we see Enoch filled with the understanding of the Most High. It says he wrapped himself up in the understanding of the Most High. That means he had to be in the record. He had to be diligent to make that time to study, to know the ways of the Most High, right? He filled his time doing this to the point where he even separated himself from the sons of men. Go on.
And it was at the expiration of many years, while he was serving the Most High and praying before him in his house, that an angel of the Most High called to him from heaven. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Rise, go forth from thy house, and from the place where thou dost hide thyself, and appear to the sons of men, in order that thou mayest teach them the way in which they should go, and the work which they must accomplish to enter in the ways of the Most High God.
All right. So while the world was becoming worse, to stay pure, Enoch spent his time separate from the worldly people. And this is a key point, and Sister Naraya, you brought up this point a few weeks back. So this is key. He focused on understanding the ways of the Most High. Enoch is an example of what we really should begin to do in our own lives. Our interaction with the world should primarily be for the edification of the people, and of course, whatever we must do to sustain ourselves in righteousness. So the point that I was making is, and Sister Naraya, you were going into this, talking about how, we got to be careful on how much we interact with those in the world, right? And it's definitely a key point. And at the same time, there is some balance, right? And the reason why I say that, let's get verse 4 again.
All right, verse 4, and he said, Rise, go forth from thy house, and from thy place where thou dost hide thyself, and appear to the sons of men, in order that thou mayest teach them the way in which they should go.
Right? Somebody still has to teach them, but at the same time, we do have to separate ourselves and make sure that our walk with the Most High is clear. You know what I mean? But at the same time, somebody has to go out and prophesy to them. Somebody has to go out and teach them the ways of the Most High, and that's our job as well. But I want to get a little bit more on Enoch, and let's get Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4. Or better yet, no. We're going to get that after. Let's continue. Let's continue with Enoch, right? All right, let's go to 17, verse 17.
Verse 17. And it was in the year of Adam's death, which was the 243rd year of the reign of Enoch. And at that time, Enoch resolved to separate himself from the sons of men and to secret himself as at first in order to serve the Most High.
Go on.
And Enoch did so, but did not entirely secret himself from them, but kept away from the sons of men 3 days, and then went to them for 1 day. And he did in this manner for many years, and he afterward concealed himself for 6 days, and appeared to his people 1 day in 7. And after that, once in a month, and then once in a year, until all the kings, princes, and the sons of men sought for him, and desired again to see the face of Enoch, and to hear his word, but they could not, as all the sons of men were greatly afraid of Enoch, and they feared to approach him on account of the godlike awe that was seated upon his countenance. Therefore no man could look at him, fearing he might be punished and die.
All right, so the more you desire the things of above, and we see that with Enoch, he separated himself from the world, and he desired the things from above, the more your spirit is strengthened. Enoch had the diligence and the love of the Father to accomplish things far beyond this world and its physical limitations as we understand them today. The question is, do we love, or better yet, what do we love above the Most High that keeps us from our own spiritual growth, right? So what hinders us, right? And if we examine ourselves, we realize that, at times, I'm going to say we're double-hearted, right? So we want to serve the Most High. We ascribe to righteousness, but then our actions speak different than what we desire, right? And it's a constant battle, and Paul identifies this battle. But at some point, we got to choose a side. And as we get closer to the end, we have to understand that time is running out, and we want to be steadfast in our beliefs, because these are the things that are going to help us to get through the storm, right? All right, let's get 1 John.
The book of 1 John, chapter 2, reading verses 15 and 17. It says, Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passes away, and the lust thereof, But he that doeth the will of the Most High abideth forever.
But he that does the will of the Most High abideth forever. So we understand that this is how the world works. This is the tools the world uses. But I want to get a little bit more. I don't want to go back to Enoch. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon. We're going to go chapter 4, and let's get 10 to 15.
All right. Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4, verse number 10. He pleased the Most High and was beloved of him, so that living among sinners he was translated.
Right? So speaking about Enoch, Enoch was translated, but Enoch was around sinners. Right? And we're in a time where it's no different. We're in a time where sin is at an all-time high. But yet, Enoch was still able, by separating himself from the world, focusing on the things of the Most High. The Most High saw that and was pleased with him and took him out of the world. Go on.
Yeah, speedily was he taken away, lest that wickedness should alter his understanding, or deceit beguile his soul. For the bewitching of naughtiness doth obscure things that are honest.
Right? So this is why we have to be careful and why we got to isolate ourselves at times. Because no matter how we look at it, bad company destroys what? Good manners, good morals. Right? So no matter how strong that we may think we are, we have to understand that we can become tainted by too much worldly exposure, so to speak, right? Go on.
And the wandering of concupiscence doth undermine the simple mind. He being made perfect in a short time fulfilled a long time.
All right. So another example of this, I'll give you another example, is Moses. Look at Moses. Moses. Yeah, Moshe, right? Moses was said to be the meekest of the world. So hold on. Someone asked what that word compasses means. Strong sexual desires. Right? So being in this world, we can get clouded with media, all these different things that will have an effect on us. Right? But we look at Moses. It says Moses was one of the meekest of the earth. Humble. Feared the Most High and whatnot. But after almost, 40 years with the children of Israel, just when it was time to go into the promised land, what happened? They got to him, right? The people got to him, and Moses says, "You rebels." And the thing is that the Bible says that he went up onto the mount, he saw the promised land, and then he died. Other records say that he was translated. But whether he died, whether he was translated, that's really not the point that I'm focused on. Is the fact that the Most High saw that they were affecting him. Right? Let's read this again in Wisdom of Solomon.
So Wisdom of Solomon, it was
Verse 11.
11. Yeah, speedily was he taken away, lest that wickedness should alter his understanding on deceit, deceit beguile his soul.
Right? So we know that right after that scenario, Moses says, "Okay, Moses, all right, your time's up now." Speedily, he took him out. Why? Because he was starting to feel I'm going to say, the pressure, the headaches, the strain, the weariness of shepherding the Most High's people, especially coming out of Egypt. So the Most High said, "You know what, let me take him out of this." But I also look for us where we're in a scenario where sinners have a plan against the righteous. And if we're not careful, they will taint us and taint our righteousness. But we also understand that eventually the Most High is going to have to do what? Take us also out of this. And this is the point where we're reaching, where we're realizing that, hey, in some cases, they're actually forcing us to eventually have to leave out of this, because we understand that the prison's already built. Sad to say that Satan has already formed his army. Everybody just is waiting to be used, right? You want to say something, my sister? Yeah. Right. Now, even tells us, I think in the book of Zechariah, how Satan came and tried to make an accusation against Moses, and Peter came and rebuked him, showing you that no, he was still in good favor with the Most High, but Most High says, "Come on up here." Right. All right. Let's continue, and let's get John. Did I read this? I didn't read this, right?
No,
So, okay, let me read this. So the three things that John mentioned in verse 16, so going back to 1 John chapter 2, verse 17, are the primary things all men and women fall in subject to in this world. We must transcend these things, as Enoch did, if we hope to see the kingdom. Our often half-hearted efforts will not get us in. It's our understanding of our ongoing shortcomings that cast doubts and hinder our faith, right? So these are the things that hinder us from being bold with the Most High, because we have areas where we need work, and that hinders our confidence. And as a result of hindering our confidence, it also hinders our faith. And I say that why? Because, for instance, if I request something from the Most High, knowing that I don't really deserve it, how much can I really kind of demand it, so to speak, saying, because the Most High says, what, these things I'll give to you. But we also understand that he also requires that we walk before him in righteousness. Now, if I'm, areas where I'm a little bit shaky in my walk in righteousness, how much boldness or authority can I request the things that he tells us he would give us? I'm more saying, Father, please, if it be by thy mercy, not because I fit the requirement, it's because you're merciful. So we don't want to be in that merciful state where we're saying, please, Father, please just overlook our faults. We want to be in that bold state where we can say, you know what, Father, I know you hear the call, the prayers of the righteous. Please hear my prayer, right? We want to be at the place, I always say this, I want to be at the place where Elijah was like, if I'm a righteous man, make fire fall from heaven. And I could say that with confidence. You know what I mean? That's the place we want to get to. So it's our understanding of our ongoing shortcomings that causes doubt and hinders our faith. This is Satan's primary leverage on us in order to keep us subject to the rules of this physical realm. We must pray also our old sinful life to be on a level like our great forefathers and foremothers. So I'm going to read it again. We must put away, should I say, our old sinful lives to be on a level like our forefathers and foremothers. Let's get Exodus chapter 24, verse 12.
Book of Exodus, chapter 24, reading verses 12 down to 18. And the Most High said unto Moses, come up to me unto the mount, and be there, and I will give thee tables of stone, and a law and commandments which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses rose up, and his minister Joshua. And Moses went up into the mount of the Most High God. And he said unto the elders, tarry ye here for us, until we come again unto you. And behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man have any matters to do, let him come unto them, Slakia. And Moses went up into the mount, and a cloud covered the mount. And the glory of the Most High abode upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And the seventh day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud. And the sight of the glory of the Most High was like devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moses went into the midst of the cloud, and got him up into the mount. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights.
All right, so there's a serious meeting between the spiritual realm and the physical realm that we are able to witness from afar. Now the problem is, if we hope to be close to Yeshua, like Moses, we must separate ourselves from this world, from this wicked, worldly, spiritually first, right? So the first separation is spiritually. We got to separate ourselves. The alternative is we will be among the fearful, like our forefathers who were in complete fear when Yeshua came down, right? So we can either be like Moses coming towards the Most High, or we can be like the fearful who, when they heard the voice of the Most High speaking on the mount, you remember what they said? Anybody remember what they said to Moses? Yeah, they said, Moses, you speak to us. You go deal with him and you speak to us. Because rather than understand, and remember, the Most High told them that, no, I'm the God of your fathers. I'm going to be with you guys. I'm going to bring you into the land. But even with all of that, they were still in fear, understanding that, and then we got to understand that's right before this. Well, not right before this point. Not right, because they built a calf after this, right? But we understand that their faith was a little bit dicey at this point. All right. Let's get 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3.
Book of 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 3 to 6. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High, to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imagination and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of the Most High God, and bringing into captivity every thought into the obedience of Christ, and having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled.
All right, so there's a process that every professed follower of the Most High and Yeshua must go through. Once you left off from sin and learn to control your thoughts by following the Father, by following the Father's will under Yeshua, you will then be ready to truly help edify others. The process of obedience always prepares your spirit for the battle in the unseen realm. So, we got to go through the process, and the process is pretty much like babes drinking milk. We got to mature in the milk. Once we, have the principles of the understanding, the principles of the faith, then we can go on to greater understandings. But the first thing we have to first do is humble ourselves in the eyes of the Most High. And by humbling ourselves, in some cases that's casting everything that we thought we knew and learning again. And sometimes pride can get in the way of learning again. Especially if you've been walking, you've been part of church for so long, you've been, I've been doing this for 20 years and you're telling me I got to learn this all over again. But I'm going to tell you what happens if we don't do it that way. The Bible says we cannot pour new wine into old bottles, because what will happen over time, eventually those bottles will burst. So that's what happens if we try to put the new information with the old information. It will conflict. Let's continue.
All right, so in the book of Exodus, chapter 34, if you're just joining us, we'll be reading verses 27 to 35. And the Most High said unto Moses, write thou these words, for after the tenor of these words I have made a covenant with thee and with Israel. And he was there with the Most High 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water. And he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. And it came to pass, when Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tables of testimony in Moses' hand, when he had came down from the mount, that Moses wist not that the skin of his face shone while he talked with them. And when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come nigh him. And Moses called unto them, and Aaron and all the rulers of the congregation returned unto him, and Moses talked with them. And afterward all the children of Israel came nigh, and he gave them in the commandment all that the Most High had spoken with him in Mount Sinai. Until Moses had done speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. But when Moses went before the Most High to speak with him, he took the veil off until he came out. And he came out and spake unto the children of Israel that which he was commanded. And the children of Israel saw the face of Moses, that the skin of Moses' face shone, and Moses put a veil upon his face again until he went in to speak to the Most High.
Right. Now, there's something kind of key here, and if we want to go back to Enoch, because even the men of Enoch's time, they saw Enoch and they were afraid of that god aura. Now, the men of Enoch's time never understood this. The men during the time of Moses, they never understood this as well. And this is why Moses would speak with the veil covering his face. Because they would see the God aura coming off of Moses, and their own hearts would condemn them. Right? Their own hearts would prick them to say, you know what, I'm not worthy to look at this man of God. But the part that they were missing is that as we get closer to the Most High, we get closer, or better yet, as we get closer to Christ, because we understand that Christ is the way. The more we start to walk in the ways of Christ, the more we get closer to the Most High. The more we start walking, you know what I mean? I'm going to say not only just walking, but also connected with the heavenly realm. So this is why we have to strive for obedience, strive for perfection, because that is what strengthens our connection to the heavenly realms. That is where we have the authority over the spirits, over the demons, like Christ told his believers they would have. But it only happens as we start to unplug from this world and start to plug in more and more into the heavenly realm, right? So, when Moses returned from the mount for the second time, the people were afraid because of the glory which was shining from his face. Their own sinful acts increased their fear, being that they had worshipped another god just prior to Moses leaving for the mount. This is another example of the same process as Enoch through Moses. By separating themselves from the people and their sometimes carnal ways, he was able to deal with the incorruptible realm in order to bring truth to those that were still subject to sin. Now, in all these cases, what Enoch and Moses was pretty much an example of, it was an example of how if we also tap into that realm, the Most High can also have that connection with us. Now, maybe not to the same level that he had with Moses, because, he says, I speak to Moses face to face. The rest of y'all, you might just see me in a vision, and he said that to Mary and to Aaron, right? But nonetheless, Moses was showing that we can all have access. And even Moses said it to Joshua. When he had the men in the camp prophesying, and Joshua says, stop them from prophesying. And Moses says to him, I wish that all God's people, that the Spirit of the Lord will rest upon all God's people so that they would all prophesy. So Moses was really showing that we all can plug into the heavenly realm. I mean, think about it. The Most High was making a nation of what? Kings and priests. So the Spirit was always ideal to rest upon the multitude, but the multitude just never understood the way, which was through obedience and faith. We understood, eventually they got the law part of it, but they lacked the faith part of it. And because of that hindered them from that connection, right? And even in the New Testament, it talks about even unto this day, when they read out of the law, they still can't see past the veil. Understanding that what the law was foreshadowing was just greater than, routine, a routine ritual. We understand that the law itself embodied Christ and what Christ would fulfill, right? All right. So by separating himself from the people and their sometimes carnal ways, he was able to deal with the incorruptible realm. Let's get 2 Esdras chapter 1, and let's start from verse 12.
All right, book of 2 Esdras, chapter 1, reading verses 12 to 19. It says, Speak thou therefore unto them, saying, Thus said the Most High, I led you through the sea, and in the beginning gave you a large safe passage. I gave you Moses for a leader, and Aaron for a priest. I gave you light and a pillar of fire, and great wonders have I done among you. Yet have you forgotten me, said the Most High. Thus said the Almighty Lord, the quails were as a token to you. I gave you tents for your safeguard, nevertheless ye murmured there. And triumph not in my name for the destruction of your enemies, but ever to this day do ye yet murmur. Where are the benefits that I have done for you? Where ye were hungry, and thirsty in the wilderness, did ye not cry unto me, saying, Why hast thou brought us into this wilderness to kill us? It had been better for us to have served the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. Then had I pity upon your mournings, and gave you manna to eat. So ye did eat angels' bread.
All right. Now, as a nation, what is, when we read about, stuff like this regarding our forefathers, what is one of the spirits that has hindered us as a people? Unbelief, disobedience. I mean, in this case here, what we're reading right now, what we just read. Ungratefulness, right? So complaining, but ungratefulness, right? We have to understand that every day that the Most High gives us, especially in this time where, we're seeing people just dying, like it just feels like every week there's a funeral, there's always something going on. When we're living in a time where they have, they're categorizing new death as sudden death syndromes, where anybody just out of random, you could be jogging and that could be your last moment there, right? Young people too, right? Seeing that, we have to understand that every day that we get is a blessing. Every day that we get is a day to give the Most High thanks, glory, and honor. And we can't take this time anymore for granted. Understanding that, you know what? Tomorrow's not promised. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. There's so much things that are happening, and they're happening so fast. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the news, but everything is just happening so fast. And while you start focusing on one thing, when we see the technology that's being implemented, once you start focusing on one thing, they're throwing like 5 other things with you. We got war here. We got another policy being made here. We got, you know what I mean? So every day that we got to be thankful. There's so much things that we actually sit back and take the time to examine. There's so many things the Most High has blessed us with. And, if it's not food, shelter, and raiment, a job or something like that, you got to be thankful for this understanding, because they have done everything to keep this understanding of who you are, who our God is, from the earth. They have done so much things to hide this from you. So the Father gives us far more than we ever deserved as a rebellious people. Even unto this day, with thousands of signs and wonders that the kingdom will soon come, we are rebellious and murmuring against him and those that speak of him, so that you will better know him. If we taste the bread of heaven and murmured, how much more do we murmur in the physical absence of the bread of life? We have a lot to learn. So, we can't allow the little things to distract us, right? We got to look at the bigger picture and focus on the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is salvation and edification. These are the biggest things. These are the things that are going to help us get through the storm ahead. But the adversary is always going to make, distractions, try to send them our way to let us lose focus on the course we need to be headed in. Now, maybe I shouldn't say, but I'm going to say it. So, last week alone, not last week alone. Well, yeah, last week alone. I have a few people calling me talking about they want to have debates. I'm like, we ain't got time for debates right now. We got to stay focused on these are the last days. And it's funny because some of these people actually really want, we actually opened the door to have discussions with them. But time and chances happen to everyone. What was regarding the Most High's name? Time and chances happen to everybody. But I'm saying these things can be distractions if we're not careful. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, there's a time to stand up for truth. But when we understand that it's not for edification, it's just for egos, we ain't got time for that. That's a distraction, right? And we can't allow our egos or our personal, how we feel and what, you know what I mean, distract us from what's really important. And what's really important is that we understand we are in these last days and we got to store up righteousness while we still have time to store up good works, right? I mean, you know, I'm going to be be mindful of my mouth. I don't want to defile myself through the things I say. Let's continue, though. Let's get second Esdras, though.
Good. But the book of Second Esdras, chapter 2, reading verses 35 to 41. It says, Be ready to the reward of the kingdom, for the everlasting light shall shine upon you forevermore.
Right, so be ready for what?
For the reward of the kingdom.
For the reward of the kingdom. That's what we should be ready for. Go on.
For the everlasting light shall shine upon you forevermore. Flee the shadow of this world. Receive the joyfulness of your glory.
Right, so flee the shadow of this world. Family, this world is falling apart. This world, I don't know if you guys are paying attention, it is falling apart. The economy is falling apart. Right, they're trying to find new ways to pump something back in the economy. Right, once you start seeing they're invading countries again and whatnot, you know we got a problem in the economy. So we have to understand that this illusion is coming to an end, and we're headed in a time where reality is going to hit a lot of people hard, right? Because life as we know it is about to change. Go on.
It says, For the everlasting light shall shine upon you forevermore. Flee the shadow of this world. Receive the joyfulness of your glory. I testify my Savior openly. Or receive the gift that is given you, and be glad, giving thanks unto him that had led you to the heavenly kingdom.
That have led us, give thanks to him. Always being thankful for the Most High who has led us to choose, to give us the opportunity to choose this heavenly kingdom. Go on.
Arise up and stand. Behold, the number of those that be sealed in the feast of the Most High, which are departed from the shadow of the world, and have received glorious garments of the Most High. Take thy number, O Zion, and shut up those of thine that are clothed in white, which have fulfilled the law of the Most High.
Right, and how do we get those white garments, everybody? Through baptism. Go on.
The number of thy children whom thou longest for is fulfilled. Beseech the power of the Most High, that thy people, which have been called from the beginning, may be hallowed.
All right, so that may be hallowed.
Hallowed, yes.
I was thinking he's speaking of halal meat.
That's why I switch it. Every now and then I'd say the holy.
No, I'm playing with you. Okay. So, anyways, but it says, the number of thy children whom thou longest for is fulfilled. So we have to understand that, the ark of the covenant is being, not the ark of the covenant, Noah's ark, the ship of Noah, like it was before with the time of Noah, before the deluge. It's being filled. But there's coming a time where the ship will close, and we got to sail. And those that didn't board the ship in time will be left without, where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth, how Christ would have said it. So we have to understand that these last days we cannot take for granted anymore. We really have to choose a side and endure as the adversary tries to do everything to break us, right? Let's get Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 30.
Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 30. Also, thou son of man, the children of thy people still are talking against thee by the walls and in the doors of the house, and speak one to another, every one to his brother, saying, Come, I pray you, and hear what is the word that cometh from the Most High. And they came unto thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words, but they will not do them. For with their mouth they shew much love, but their heart goeth after their covetousness. And lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song of one that hath a pleasant voice and can play well on an instrument.
Right, and we got to be careful of this. So we love hearing the word of the Most High. We love hearing of righteousness. But even though we love to hear it, we do not apply it. And the Bible says it's not the hearers of the word that shall be justified, but the doers of the word. So, we can't, we can fool others, but we can't fool the Most High. We may be even able to fool ourselves, but eventually we got to have that reality check, and we got to now be doers and not just hearers of the word. Right? Go on.
For they hear the words, but they do them not. And when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come.
Right? So this, when it comes to pass, meaning it will come. Right? So all the things, and there's things that Christ has commanded us to do, and until you do them, you will never understand them. But, or you will have the flip side, well, you will understand it, but by the time you understand it, guess what? It's too late. And that's going to happen to a lot of people where they've heard things being said that were true, or they denied it, they ignored it, and now time has run out, and they realize that, you know what was being said was true. It was continue to read.
Gone. Then shall they know that a prophet had been among them.
Then they will know that the words you were speaking were the words of the prophet, was the words that were written in this book. So we got to take heed while we still have the opportunity to take heed, right? As long as we have today, let us not harden our hearts. There's a part in the Bible that speaks about that, right? We have today when we're hearing the word of the Most High. Let's continue.
That's it on that.
All right, so if we claim we follow the truth, then truth must live in us and guide our lives. Our people have always gone to church, but how many leave the church and still live in righteousness when nobody in the church is around? And this is the reality. This is facts, right? We all got to examine ourselves. The word in the Bible and the strong words of a person the Most High chooses to deliver them to you are not there for entertainment. If you believe, then show through your life what you believe, or that you believe. Righteousness is a 7-day week thing. So, people around us, and don't get me wrong, we still, as I said, there's levels, and some of us, we're on different levels. Some of us are doing better than others. Some of us, we're just starting this and learning how this looks, and we're examining our shortcomings. But over time, people around you should understand where you stand, what you stand for, what is your belief system. That shouldn't be, something where somebody has to guess or is unsure of, especially if you've been in this walk long enough. So, yes, as I said, I'm going to say I know where I'm at. I know there's still some polishing I got to do. There's some fine-tuning I got to do. But I'm going to say this, where everybody who knows me knows what I stand for. At work, they know where I stand for. At times, I'm waiting for this year to give my speech this year on Black history. Because I'm going to bring them to Acts 13 and show them that the first church was actually started by a black man. And that's my no, because every year they want me to do a speech for Black History Month, right? So this year, I'm bringing them into the Bible and say, well, for Black history, the first churches in Corinthians were started by a black man named Simon. That will be, I may not do the following years after that, but nonetheless, the point that I'm making is that they know me at work, that this is just who I am. You know what I mean? My friends, they know this is who I am. My family, and your family knows you the most. And it took them for years for them to know me, but now they know me, and they're like, okay, you want to know about God? Go speak to. They don't call me Deacon Zari, but you know what I mean. Go speak to Zari, right? So, that's the impression we want to leave with your friends, your family, and those you associate in the world. They know who you are. They know where you stand. You're comfortable in that. You're not trying to compromise and be like them. You stand solid in you, and tell you what happens. They start to come to you. And they start to come with you saying, yeah, what about this scripture? I was reading this scripture. They start to just ask questions, right? And when they're coming and asking questions, that's a sign to say, you know what? They see this change and this walk in you. If they're coming to you about worldly things, you're kind of unbalanced. That means you're more grounded, or they feel you're more comfortable or solid to give opinions on worldly things rather than godly things. So we got to kind of work on how people see us, right? We got to make sure that we're representing the Most High to the best of our abilities. Let's continue, though.
The book of Revelations, chapter 12, reading verses 10 to 12. It says, "And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto death.
And they loved not their lives unto the death." Go on.
Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
And he has but a short time. So for the righteous, we understand our salvation is closer than we ever imagined. The Most High says, I'm going to do a short work in the earth. He's bringing this to an end very fast, guys. And I think we all can witness and say, you know what, time is just flying now. For the adversary, though, they see this and they say, you know what, we are running out of time. And even for us that are still on the sidelines where we know we got a lot of work to do in terms of righteousness, we got to look at that as well and say, hey, we're running out of time as well. We got to figure this out and choose a side while we still have time. But for the adversary and his minions, because they understand that time is running out before the children of Israel will be restored, before Satan's kingdom comes to an end, they're working overdrive. They're working overshifts. They're trying everything to speed up the agenda. And sad to say that they're on one accord, and a lot of the things on their agenda, they are going to get accomplished. And we see that one of the things that they're speeding up is they're speeding up this Mark of the Beast. Right? I watched, there is I don't know if it's a documentary, but there's something on GOCC Favorites. And it goes into the agenda. And it's disturbing what they're planning. But not to even so much focus on that, because we understand that regardless of what they're planning, the Most High is going to get us through it. And the Most High, we can't lose faith in that, or we can't think the Most High's arm is too short to get us through of what they're planning. But we have to understand that, you know what? This agenda, some of us, I remember a couple of years ago, someone was saying, Deacon, I don't see these things happening maybe in 20 years. Do we still feel that way? Right? God forbid, but in the end of the day, whatever be the will of the Most High, let it be. Because he knows the time. He knows the perfect time and place for everything to happen. We also understand that in order to get to that kingdom, we got to go through the treacherous terrains. So he's not going to take us out of this. We got to go through it. And we're just praying that we're prepared to go through it. And we've done our part to be prepared to go through it. And where we fall short, the Most High will give what's needed to give the increase, so to speak, right? So we understand that. Let's continue. So the devil looks to eliminate the seed of the righteous from the world because he is looking to escape judgment. We must learn to not enjoy the evil things of this present life, because that is how the adversary looks to bring about our downfall. All these different media outlets that we live our lives through is parts where Satan's ways of aggressively destroying the righteous in a short period of time through sin and even through distractions from what really is important to focus on. They are there to destroy the people one way or another. So we understand that there's always media, there's always something new happening using media, Hollywood, etc., another scandal, another gossip, another trend. We have to understand that all these things are distractive and can be distractive at times if we allow ourselves to be distracted by them. Um, I know, like, for instance, they were having a clash, and, I spent probably, it's sad to say, I spent probably like 5 days trying to understand the clash, and I'm like, why did I waste my time understanding a rap battle? Like, you know what I mean? There's so much things that can just pull us away and take back time that in some cases we're never going to get back that time. And we got to be careful with that. You know what I mean? Not saying, sometimes I get it, we got to rest our brains. We got work, we got that, we got to rest our brains, and we'll use these things to rest our brains. But at the same time, we got to examine ourselves and say, hold on, who's getting more time? The Most High or YouTube? And in a lot of cases, YouTube is getting more times. I'm going to say there's times where we can watch stuff of God on YouTube. So nothing wrong with that. I think, we want to keep our minds focused on the things of the Most High. But then there's times where we can just get pulled into every other thing. And that's where we got to be careful. Sometimes it could be sports. You know what I mean? I have a thing where I used to love to watch sports. But now I just watch highlights. And even that can be too much at times. So we got to find balance. And in some cases, we want to be even unbalanced. And we want to be unbalanced in righteousness, meaning that we're more leaning towards righteousness than the distractions of this world. Because all these things are temporary. All these things eventually, as we see, is coming to an end. Life, as we know it, is coming to an end. So all that will matter is the righteousness we have worked and the faith that will carry us through. So let me continue to read. They are there to destroy the people one way or another. We must be on guard as now. You can bring sin into your home without even having to leave to find it. And that's what sometimes we can bring in through media, through the things we entertain. First Peter, right? In some cases, it's not even, it could just be uncontent. So meaning that you're content with life. The Most High has given you food, shelter, and raiment. You're content with that. And then we start watching stuff on TV and seeing how the adversary wants to portray people living a certain life. Because even the rich, behind closed doors, you see that a lot of them ain't happy. But they sell that to the world in order to make you want. I'm not going to say want more because there's nothing wrong with wanting more. But rather than being content, rather than being thankful, you're more looking at what you don't have, and you feel like you're missing out on something, even though the Most High is blessing you. And I give you an example. I told you guys that I had my boy, and he grew up church family. In fact, he was the first person who actually, I went to church with his family, and it became a routine when his mom said, come to church with us and whatnot. So I'm very thankful for that family. But we were having a conversation one day, and he's like, yo, honestly, bro, I had to rebuke myself. And I'm like, why? He's like, bro, I'm here thinking about everybody else, what they have. And I'm losing sight on what the Most High blessed me. And when he said that to me, I was like, bro, I'm laughing because I'm saying, you have more than me. And, you got to be thankful for that. And he's like, yeah, bro, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about all of this in my house. So while he's in his house that the Most High blessed him with, he's looking at what everybody else has and what he doesn't have. And not losing sight that, the Most High blessed him with a house. And, coming from where we're coming from, that was never a guarantee. Like, he's the first person, I'm going to say the first person in his family to have a house. So we got to look at that. He had to rebuke himself and say, you know what? I got a lot to be thankful of. But sometimes looking at what's out there, we can lose sight of the things the Most High has blessed us with. And that can lead to us being ungrateful. So this is why we got to be careful of the social medias and whatnot, because that's what social media is designed to do. That's what Instagram and stuff is designed to do. It is designed to sell a false reality for that those who see it will desire and do whatever it takes to obtain those same images, so to speak, right? To the point where even people will lie. And I tell you, you got one guy, I'm at the beach, and he's at a construction site, laid down on the side of the construction site. I'm at a beach. I remember when Instagram first came out, we used to have a man that used to go to Holt rent-free just to pick up a shoe and make it look like they're buying a high-end shoe, just to take the picture of the shoe and put it back down. So what happens? We start to fake, they have a saying, especially in showbiz, you fake it till you make it, right? And a lot of people, that's what the world is doing right now. A lot of them are faking it until they make it, right? And they might not never make it, right? But let's get this. Let's get 1 Peter's.
You got the book of 1 Peter, chapter 5, verse 5 from to 10. It says, likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yeah, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility. For the Most High resisteth the proud, and giveth grace to the humble.
All right, so understanding the authorities, understanding that, yes, we are all brothers, but there's always rank and order, and we always have to keep that, because even in the heavenly realms, these things exist, right? But go on.
Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of the Most High, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you.
All right, so casting all our cares on the Most High. So even in times of doubt, even in times of fear, we have to cast those things to the Most High and trust the Most High that even though we are afraid, even though we're in doubt right now, the Most High will never forsake us, right? We always have to keep that in mind. Go on.
Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour.
All right, because read that again.
Come on. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour.
All right, go on.
Whom resist steadfast in faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world.
All right, so there's no challenge or temptation that you're going through that is foreign to man. Part of Satan's tactic is to make you feel that your situation is so unique that nobody else will understand. And that's a tactic that he used. I remember I used to feel like because I came from a certain area and went through certain things that there was nobody in church that can give me, that can relate to me. And because of that, it kept me being isolated, thinking that, oh, you guys don't understand where I come from. No, the adversary wants you to think that your situation is so unique that nobody else is going through that. That's his form of isolation. Now, I had to look at this today because it says he is like a lion. Read that part again, that lion part.
It says...
Devouring lion.
It says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, is as a roaring lion, walking about, seeking whom he may devour.
All right, so I had to sit back. I told you guys I grew up watching Nature Channel, and I was really big on Animal Channel, Animal Planet, History. Like, those are my two favorite channels as a kid. So when I was reading this morning, I said to myself, hold on. The lion always hunts his prey, always the weak in the herd. Like, I mean, first of all, it's usually the lioness that does most of the hunting. Like, it's the sister's doing the most of the hunting, right? But they always go for, and I actually highlighted it. It's funny because I'm like, how does the lion pick its prey? And let's get this, right? And ChatGPT knows me so well when it says, would you like me to correlate that with 1 Peter's chapter? I'm like, how do you know I'm correlating that with 1 Peter's? I just asked based on just an animal and how it hunts. That's all I was asking it. But it knows me so much now that I'm trying to correlate that to the Bible, so it did it for me, right? But let's get this. So, the lion does not attack at random. In the wild, lions watch first, so they watch first. They study the herd. They look for patterns of weakness, spiritual parallels. The enemy doesn't attack everyone the same way. He watches for, and these are the things he watches for, weariness, so those that are getting wear down in the spirit, tired, so to speak, isolation, so those that like to isolate themselves. And, we talked about this. We said, when we're together, especially tabernacles, sin does not come to mind. But when we separate and we're isolated, those are our vulnerable states, right? Discouragement. So whenever we feel discouraged, the adversary sees that and sees that, you know what? We can be prey. Compromise. When we start to compromise our walk, he looks at that a way where he can attack and you are prey. Weakness draws attention. So remember, he's always watching. So he's examining all of us weaknesses where he can find leverage, where he can get in. That's his way in, right? Lions choose prey that is sick, injured, young, separated from the herd. Spiritual parallels. Believers are most vulnerable when spiritually tired, emotionally wounded, new in faith, cut off from fellowship. Isolation is not neutral, it's dangerous. And that goes back to, we're all parts of a body. But I always say this, you cut off a finger, you even pull out an eye, the body will heal. The eye will decay and die. Whatever part you remove from the body will always heal and always find ways to survive. But the member that is cut off, it's cut off from its life source, right? It says, separation is more important than strength. An healthy animal alone is easier to kill than a weak one protected by the herd. So even if that person is sick, if they have the body, so meaning we're going through afflictions, but we have the supporting cast, is more protected from a lion than a healthy calf that is isolated or by itself. Withdraw from accountability. So let me start again. So a healthy animal alone is easier to kill than, okay, we got that. Even strong believers fall when they withdraw from accountability, refuse correction, walk alone. Ecclesiastes 4:12, a threefold cord is not quickly broken. So having that support system is better than trying to stand alone, right? The attack is sudden. So lions stalk quietly, then strike fast. No warning, no long chase, one moment of vulnerability, spiritual parallels. Temptation often comes when guard is down, when prayer life is weak, when vigilance is lost. So when when that fire starts to be quenched, you're vulnerable for attacks. Vigilance, can you say this word at times? Vigilance, thank you guys, keeps you safe. Prey animals that stay alert, stay together, respond quickly, are rarely taken. Spiritual parallels. Staying watchful in prayer, fellowship, obedience keeps the enemy at bay. Core takeaway. The lion preys on vulnerability, not anointed, not calling, not titles. Strength is preserved by community, humility, and watchfulness. So, these are things that is going to help us from being devoured. But even just understanding the prey and looking at the prey can give us insight on how the adversary looks to take us, right? And this is why emotionally we got to be careful. We got to be guarded, because sometimes emotionally is how the adversary gets in, right? I'm in my feelings, you're in your feelings, and then he's just now working on both of you guys, right? And we even seen it with the best of us. Think about it. Peter in his split second, he got emotional. It's that they're about to kill Christ. Christ, what are you talking about? And Christ says, Satan, get behind him. Right? Because we have to understand that sometimes our emotions can get even in the way of prophecy. So think about it. If Peter saved Christ, right, and he even tried to save Christ. He pulled out his sword, he cut off the guy's ear. But if Peter saved Christ, what would that do for the rest of us? Right? Peter would have got in the way because of his feelings, his emotions, should I say. He would have got in the way of prophecy. So this is why we got to protect ourselves from all these different areas, because these are the areas where the adversary is looking to attack us. Right? Let's continue.
All right. It says, whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are comes in your brethren that are in the world, but the Most High of all grace, who had called us into the eternal glory of Christ, Yeshua, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, and settle you.
All right. So we must humble ourselves under the Most High's mighty hand, which is Yeshua. Time to live a life of sobriety in every way, understanding the devil awaits his opportunity to take you down. Also, keep in mind that there is always someone in the body with a similar story or worse than yours, so you are not alone in your struggle. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6, and we're going to go 6 to 11.
All right, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Most High thy power. The Most High thy God had chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
Right, so this is why we are destined for greatness. The Most High has given us an opportunity to be these peculiar people, to be the heads, to teach, to be the leaders, to teach the rest of the world of righteousness on how to serve him. So the responsibility that's been given to us, it's not a light matter. It's a great responsibility. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, are we going to live up to that responsibility? Right? Or did the Most High just call us for the sake of destruction? Will we live up to that calling? And that calling is to be a righteous people, to be the light of this world. Go on.
The Most High did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people. Because the Most High loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Most High brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Know therefore the Most High thy power, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him, and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hated him. He will repay him face to face. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command thee this day to do them.
Right, and this is what we cannot lose faith in, is the fact that the same way how the Most High saved our forefathers out of Egypt, he's once again going to save us out of this captivity. So to be holy is to be separate from the rest of the world. If you are still looking to engross yourself in the things of this world, you are still missing the message. We were chosen for a task separate from the world so that the world may heal, or may be healed, should I say. The priest and his family lived a separate, righteous life, different from the common man. We are now to be a nation of priests, so nobody is exempt. Even the Gentiles who choose this path must step away from the ways of their fathers. Let's get Exodus chapter 19, and let's get 5 and 6.
Exodus 19, verse 5. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel.
All right. So, one of the things we got to understand is that regardless if we're there or not, this is going to happen. right? What we all have to understand is that none of us is more important than what the Most High has prophesied. So whether we endure to see it through, or we fail the test and we see it from the sides of, or see it from the eyes of the sinner who have not overcome this world, we all are going to see it. So I rather be part of those on the receiving end to receive the promises of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to receive the rewards of enduring, the rewards of standing stiffly for the Most High, than to stand with this world only for a moment. And the sad part is that even when we stand in this world, being who we are, we never get a piece of the real pie. I hate to say it, right? They'll sell us. They'll give us a small piece of it, the crumbs of it. That's what they give us. And sometimes, sad to say, out of the crumbs we make the best out of the crumbs, and then it becomes a delicacy, and then the world wants. You know what I mean? But this is what this world has given us. It's always given us the crumbs. But the Most High has given us far more than this world can ever offer us. So you can have a short taste of it, of the crumbs, or we can starve. We can fast from this world. That's what I'm going to say. We can fast from this world only to have a table set before us with everything our hearts desires. I think I'll hold my belly for now, and I'll eat later on, right? Not, I'm talking about the spiritual realm, right? All right. So Satan has his priests that follow his wickedness, and the Most High is expecting us to choose to be his. If Satanists can come together to accomplish so many things for their agenda, how much more should we come together in righteousness? And that's key, because when we look at the ministers of Satan, when we look at those that are part of this agenda, they're all on one accord. Now, is there probably inward fighting? Perhaps. But for the most part, they are on one accord, rolling out this agenda in front of the world real time. So I'm praying that we can also get on one accord to represent the Most High while we still have this opportunity. And I'm going to tell you, it's really an opportunity. For me, I think about Second Esdras, and it's like, these are they who stood so stiffly for the Most High. Are we going to stand stiffly for the Most High? Or are we going to be like the rest of Israel during the time of David and Goliath, where every man was looking for the next man? You fight Goliath. You fight Goliath. Or will we all stand and say, who's up next? Because we're standing with the Most High. Now, I was going to say this before you said Khan. I was about to say, we all can say Khan. But I believe the Most High is going to give us that opportunity. And whether it be amongst colleagues, whether it be at work, whether it may be family members, all of us, time and opportunity happens to us all, whether or not we're going to stand for the Most High. And there's times where we shied away because we were scared, we were timid, where we probably wanted to say something of the Most High, and we didn't say it. And that's an opportunity missed. But guess what? All is not lost. We have many more opportunities until the coming of the Son of Man. So I'm saying we got to take these opportunities, because these things are being recorded on your behalf. And these are the things that are going to fight for us. So we got to take a stand for righteousness while we still have the time. So let's close off. We got two more scriptures. Let's get Isaiah chapter 1, verse 1. We're going to go to verse 6, and then we're going to get Romans.
The book of Isaiah chapter 1, verse number 1. The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amoz, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Most High had spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel does not know, my people does not consider. Ah, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Most High. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backward. Why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot even unto the head there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises.
Right? Now, this is, hate to say it, but this is where we are today as a nation. We're gotten to a point where, and if it wasn't for the Most High, it would be like Sodom and Gomorrah, but we've gotten to a nation where, and I'm going to say this in Jamaican tongue, but I'm going to try to translate it, but the head no good. And basically what I'm saying is that, from our leaders, pretty much all to the common people, it's like nobody has a understanding of the requirements of the Lord. The things that we're involved with. We went from a nation that was singing about righteousness to a nation where, we've embodied the darkness and have become, the people who are, they're associating with unrighteousness, with the face of unrighteousness. And it's like, how did we get so far off course? So, when we look at where we are now, the head's no good. From the sole of our head all the way is just wounds, damage, destruction. And we need healing as a nation. And the only way we're going to get this healing is if we return back to our God. Right? Go on.
And putrefying sores that have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment.
So we chose to do evil, even though evil has only destroyed us and stricken us with diseases. Even an ox recognizes when his master is giving him command and follows. We have greatness contained within, which has greater promises than the law of sin within us. It's time we hear the Father's voice and walk in the destiny of the righteous, because time is almost up. And let's get Romans chapter 13, and we're going to go 11 to 14, and we're going to close off with the scripture.
Romans 13 and 11. And that knowing the time, that now is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed.
Is our salvation nearer than when we believed. Family, I started to believe roughly, let's say, 12 years ago, and I look at where we are today, and I say, man, everything that I heard back then is being fulfilled right now, and there's still more to fulfill. So I understand that we are closer than we ever been, and we know it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get closer. Go on.
The night is far spent. The day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put ye on the Lord Yeshua the anointed, and make not provision for the flesh.
Right, and make not provisions for the flesh. So rather than feeding the flesh, making things to fulfill the desires of the flesh, we should now be focusing on making provisions for the spirit, right? To edify. Go on.
To fulfill the lust thereof.
All right, so with that being said, family, Shabbat Shalom, and let's finish strong, brothers and sisters, knowing the days are short, right? So that is the end of today's lesson.